Hi, Dick Rogers on trains. I want to re-nationalise the railway. In other words, I want British Rail back. I want it back as a single organisation, both tracks and rolling stock. At the moment, track and rolling stock and the services are different organisations, and a lot of effort is put into arguing about whose responsibility it is if something goes wrong, and it's very complicated and it's not good for the nation, and the fares are huge. I want this to apply to goods and passenger services for the good of the nation. I want fares right down, even if it costs us a bit, because we need to be able to get around the country to do our life and work. I want as near as we can get to a flat fare. If we charge people more for going at rush hour, surely we should overcome that by providing more trains at the rush hour, which may need us to increase capacity on the railway. But if there's a social need for getting around at that time, for people to do their job and to get home in time to see their families, let's get our act together and do it. Let's electrify the railway so that we're not spewing out lots of carbon dioxide, and run it on renewable electricity or wisely generated electricity. Let's build our new railway ourselves and not employ other people to do it. We've got plenty of people who need jobs, and we ought to train them up and get them to do it. Let's train engineers and IT people and managers and staff, all with a good work ethic and really keen to run an excellent service. Let's have HS2, controversially I know, and not so much for Birmingham, but I think we need it for Birmingham. At the moment I go to London on National Express coaches and it takes a long time, but I go because I can't afford the trains, so we need the fares down. But while we're doing it, let's get a really efficient service so that we can be an efficient country, not wasting time travelling around but getting on with the job. And sometimes, despite IT and webs and sort of phone conferences and things like that, a lot of things do need to be done face to face, so let's enable us to do that. Both for the relationships of our social life and family life and so on, but also to get our job done and be a good influence in the world. Let's have more freight terminals. I've been to Hams Hall in the West Midlands, and it's an interesting visit to see all the boxes, the freight containers coming in and being loaded onto lorries. But there's several different organisations all doing it, and I think it should be one organisation, including the delivery trucks, which take the containers to their final destination, and that way they can just transfer and go. At the moment, a lot of the containers have to be taken off and stacked in stacks, and then you have enormous forklift trucks going around collecting them for when the lorry for them eventually arrives, and it's very inefficient to be overcome. If the whole delivery system was one organisation, the lorries could just be waiting to pick up the box and go to the destination. Much cheaper, much quicker. So we wouldn't need any stacking. And let's make our own rolling stock. We shouldn't be having to buy stuff from abroad. We've got plenty of skilled people, or we can train them to be so, recover the skills that we lost by closing places like Derby and so on. Well, I'm not quite sure what's happened to Derby, but there used to be a lot of rolling stock manufacturing capacity in this country, which we've, I think, lost. And we should be doing research, as they do, still possibly do, I'm not sure, but used to do a lot of in Derby. Had friends who did that. And then we should be able to use our own know-how, but also export it, and export railway equipment and help build railways throughout the world in places where they need them. Let's also develop urban rail to a much greater extent. Most cities equivalent size to British cities on the continent have their own urban rail system, and it can be run on electricity, which is better for the environment, as long as it's wisely generated. what I've described is pretty costly, but let's get our export economy going and earn a living, and then we can do this stuff. And we can actually prime the pump a bit by creating money to do this, by the Bank of England just creating it. We shouldn't create money to spend on frivolities, but a railway which really helps, those bits of our railway which really help us do our life and work, that's worth investing in. Money that we create by the Bank of England, simply creating it and giving it to the government to spend on this sort of activity. Thanks very much. I would love you to go and see your MP and persuade him or her to go down this track, if you'll excuse the pun. And if you know, it's part of a lively economy. We need a properly working railway system. We haven't got it at the moment, and it's a nightmare for commuters on some routes. And it shouldn't be. We need people to get to work on top form and be able to do a good day's work without feeling drained and get back to their kids before it's bedtime, if possible. So let's do this as part of an efficient, functioning country. Go and see your MP, if you would, please, and persuade them. If they won't be persuaded, stand against him or her at the next election to promote this kind of development of our economy. Thanks very much.